Hello, welcome to the Gameshelf, a show where we're going to talk about games you've never heard of before.
Unless you're cool like us!
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Gameshelf, coming at you from beautiful Somerville, Massachusetts. I am Jmac.
And I'm Matt. For this first episode, we're going to talk about some games with a medieval theme to them, mostly because the game Shadows over Camelot, which is highly anticipated, has come out this summer. And so, since we spent a lot of money on it, we decided we should talk about it.
Well, I spent a lot of money on it, actually.
Well, yes. So why don't you tell us about it?
I'll tell us about it. So anyway, I'll bring up the box cover here. So, Shadows over Camelot is a new game by Days of Wonder, which is a game company that I've become a bit of a fan of in recent months. They've been known in the board game industry for basically very high quality games. All their games come in these big, thick, square boxes. They're pretty pricey. They cost around $50 a pop, but you definitely get what you pay for. I've sort of set up some of the board right here. We couldn't actually fit the whole thing on the small table that we were able to use as a prop here. But you can see they have, this big, beautiful board. Like I said, it's only half of it. But and you get these very colorful cards. You get these really cool looking little figures of these little Knights of the Round Table. There's a separate one for each player. You get these little prop catapults. You get these little picts, which I like a lot because they kind of look like Klingons, but they're actually supposed to be, more Celts, I guess.
Something like that.
Something like that. I haven't bothered painting mine, but that's because I like to have, keep a little time left over to play different games. So this is a cooperative board game where each player plays a different Knight of the Round Table. What you're trying to do is complete quests around the different areas of Camelot, represented by different areas of the board, before time runs out and Camelot is overrun by, evil hordes of minions and so on. The twist of the game is that there might be a traitor hidden among the ranks of the players who is secretly on the side of the game, basically trying to screw up all the other players' progress and get them to lose. We played this game at our friend Ruth's house a few weeks ago. Let's take a look at that.
On your turn, the first thing you do is draw the top black card off the deck and immediately play it, which is always bad things.
Always.
Or
evil is bad.
Yeah. Yes.
Evil is bad.
Oh, not so. Yes, evil is bad. In this game, evil is definitely bad. Or you can add a siege engine, a catapult out here.
So we have to do ourselves injury is what you're saying.
Yes, or you can choose to take 1 hit point of damage. Now that we all have the dice, these are your hit points. They start on 4. The various things in the game that can increase the number of hit points you have, but you can never have more than 6. Also, if you have less than 1, you are dead. After you've done that, you get to play your heroic action, where as it lists the various things you can do on the card as well. You can move to a new quest. So the quests on the board are, which ones are these? These are the Saxons. You can fight the Saxons, you can fight the Picts, you can fight the Black Knight, you can work on the Grail quest, you can work on the Excalibur quest, and you can work on the Lancelot's Armor quest. After the Lancelot's Armor quest has been completed, that card turns over and it becomes the Fight the Dragon quest. After these 2 are completed, they're just done.
Your Knights of the Round Table shall have a task to make them an example in these dark times.
Good idea, O Lord.
Of course it's a good idea!
How do you win? How do you complete the Grail quest?
You have to fill up this whole thing with good Grail cards.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the card types you can have says Grail on it, and you just play it along.
And there's bad Grail cards that come in.
Then there are bad Grail cards.
So the good start this way, and the bad ones start this way.
Right.
I think God is asking me to
First you have to do
go.
all you did.
Of course it's a good idea.
Go on a quest for the Grail.
Sounds good.
ILS cannot help you with that.
Is there
I
anybody
can
who
help you
can
with that.
help on that?
I'm not
So,
feeling.
I want
You
to-
were talking about the Grail earlier.
Yeah,
Yes, I want to do it.
All right.
go for it.
So,
So you just get to move over there and sit there.
Okay, that's all.
yep.
All right.
You can face it.
Are we fighting each other?
These figurines are a little too interesting.
Are you gonna paint them?
You know what? So Days of Wonder's already announced that their first expansion for the game is going to be reselling you the figurines except painted. But there's going to be an extra night with an extra card too.
Why don't I help the Grail along?
Sounds good. And I'm gonna play a Grail. And then I'm gonna take a hit point.
It's looking very happy. What? Oh yeah. Oh nice.
Ah, excellent.
Good use of
Good idea.
Actually, while you can burn one of your knight's life points to take a second action, we kind of missed the rule about not being able to repeat the same action twice that way, so Ruth shouldn't have been able to play 2 Grail cards just then. And in fact, Erik and I think someone else ended up doing the same thing, making the Grail quest much easier than it should have been. Oops. Oh well.
Okay, shall we jump to my good thing?
Yeah.
Sure.
Grail.
That was
Oh,
awesome.
right.
Well done.
This will make a good
So where
candy
is-
dish.
So you get the Grail, and so all of you return to your home base. And
Drink beer out of it.
you all
What did I tell you about?
You all gain a hit point. We need 3
my God.
swords, 3 white swords for the table.
I move for no man.
Now, where do I discard it?
What is it?
Well,
It will get discarded there.
what type of card is it without telling us the value?
It's a Black Knight.
Okay, so you have 2 choices. You can either lay it face up on the Black Knight side, and that's all for evil, or you can play it face down, not say anything about what it is, and draw a white card for yourself.
Okay.
It's totally up
Can
to
you
you.
say something like it's bad?
So the range.
No, okay.
Do we know what the range for the Black Knight cards are?
They're crazy. They're like from 1 through 7. Or
Okay.
I think there may be like an 11 in there. He's all over the map.
It's the Lancelot cards seem generally lower, but the dragon cards are generally higher.
Yes, but the dragon is not on the board
But the
yet.
dragon's not on the board yet.
Do not speak of dragons to me, sir.
Okay. Why not?
Too early for dragons.
All right. Well, I may as well play it face down and draw the card.
Since everybody else knows
So does
what
it
it is.
automatically
Okay, you know what
So-
it is.
immediately, or do you have a chance to play something before?
I don't think so. I think this.
Does the
Yeah.
quest resolve immediately, or does he get a chance to do a heroic
If you
action?
have the
It
armor,
resolves immediately.
So it is 6 to 4.
Black Knight triumphant.
So the Black Knight triumphs.
you get a black sword. It's
So we get a black sword,
And
Fix those up, though.
and I
You get
lose.
hurt.
and
and
you
I'm
lose
down
a
at
point.
Yeah. ouch.
Wait, we all lose a point?
No, just
No,
now.
I
And
You get
Running away!
He gets lanced.
I see.
A lot.
You still get to do something.
Turns out we actually did have a traitor. As I recall, someone was acting a little suspiciously. Yeah.
there's nowhere useful I can go. So I'm just gonna stay here and draw 2 cards.
What about siege engines?
I also cannot usefully deal with siege engines.
Uh-oh.
Matt's playing. I'm just saying that. I mean, why is he here? Why did he just play it? If he had a 5 in his hand, why isn't he in Camelot fighting siege engines? What's he doing over here? Seriously.
I don't know.
Just saying.
Seriously, guys.
He's the one who's going to have to explain himself.
What's done is done.
I thought we want to get stuff down on the dragon.
And we'll
But, you know,
give Matt something to fight over here.
yeah.
And draw a card.
I mean, the strategy of just staying here, forgetting about what he's doing, at worst, if we're wrong, we'll get 3 more black swords and we'll win.
I'm going to accuse King Arthur of being a traitor.
Nice.
Was he?
Yes.
No.
Because of this.
Yeah.
He went over here and played a
It's-
freaking 5 on the dragon when we were about to die through siege engines.
And
Yeah.
and we were consistently 2 siege engines out. I couldn't figure out how to, like, even if I grab a siege engine and play it down, which is suspicious in and of itself, rather than taking a black card.
You weren't
It's-
ever one down.
It's,
on
I
your
was
turn?
never. It was never one down coming into my turn. I was in fact the traitor, which was an interesting experience. It's actually tricky because you're doing the same stuff as all the other players, but while all the other players are trying to successfully complete quests, you're trying to cause all the other players to fail to complete the quests. But at the same time, you're trying to conceal the fact that you're trying to screw things up. It's an interesting. It's actually a challenging balance.
Yeah. So if I recall correctly, you were complaining about one particular part where you gave us a hint, and you were about the Excalibur quest. Or no, you gave us a hint about the fact that we still had Excalibur when one of us, when like half of the knights were about to get killed, and then you pointed out that I think
Yes.
Erik had Excalibur.
Yeah. So
And the whole time, the rest of the time, you're like this. But
Yeah.
you couldn't actually do this because if you actually did start hitting yourself on the head, we would have suspected you that much earlier.
it is definitely difficult because you don't want to tip off the other players, and given the structure of the game, it's difficult to just go out and start doing evil sabotaging acts and not
Right. You can't
bring
be too
attention
obvious
to
about it.
yourself.
That's actually, well, it's interesting that you bring that up because one of the criticisms that I've learned about the game since then is the fact that, so in that particular game, I think we had, 5 or 6 players? In the 3-player game, if one of the players happens to be the traitor, which isn't all the time because there are 8 loyalty cards which you deal out at the beginning, only one of which says traitor on it. So the fewer players there are, the less of a chance there is to be a traitor among them. But in a 3-player game, if one of the players happens to be a traitor, it's basically been figured out, like on people posting on online forums on Board Game Geek and so on, that if somebody gets the traitor card, it's to their interest just to mechanically drop a siege engine on the board every single turn, even though that's extremely obvious and they'll get accused immediately. They don't care and they just keep dropping it on there. And the other knights will have absolutely no chance to catch up. And will just be overwhelmed, and the traitor will win almost every time. So Days of Wonder has actually come out with a hack since then, in that if you're only playing with 3 players, you don't even deal out the loyalty cards until 6 swords are on the table. In other words, until the game's half over. In that case, that kind of fixes that, but then 4-player games still kind of have this problem with the traitor winning most of those. So it could be that this game is better with more players. 5 or 6, according to like the zeitgeist right now on online forums, seems to be the ideal number.
Yeah, with as we've played 3 or 4 games together at this point,
Yeah.
something like that. Usually with 5 or 6 players, and as it's happened, we've had a traitor every game as things have worked out.
I think we've had a traitor every game. The traitors won once when we did the 3-player.
Yeah, when we did the 3-player game, but when we've had more players,
the Knights have always
the Knights
won.
have always won, but it's always been a very close game.
And it's always been very tense. And double guessing your buddy sitting across the table from you is great. And the game has a lot of mechanics built in, like the fact that you discard all your cards face down, so you don't know if like someone's been dumping great cards into the lake, or if someone leaves a quest early, you wonder, oh, why did they do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's if you have a larger to medium-sized gaming group, this can be a lot of fun.
Yeah. As the other comment I wanted to make about the traitor is, so in the game's rules, it suggests that the first time you play the game, you play without the loyalty card. So
Right.
everybody is a good knight. There is no traitor.
And everybody knows everyone else is
And
good,
everybody knows
which
that
is
everyone else is
more
good.
important, actually.
Which removes the major psychological aspect of the game.
But it's more like overcast days over Camelot at that.
Yeah.
Slightly cloudy, partly cloudy.
But my experience after playing the game as a traitor once and as a knight a couple of other times is to play the game effectively as the traitor, you have to really understand the rules of the game going into it. That there's that moment when the loyalty cards are dealt out at the beginning of the game. Everybody looks at their loyalty card. When you pick up your loyalty card, if it says traitor on it, the first thing you want to do is grab for the rulebook and start reading up on how the traitor actually works.
And it's always been a newbie every time.
And
like the last time we played, it was our friend Mary, who it was the first time she played the game and she got the traitor card. And she was actually saying to us how she felt pressured not to sit there reading the card because she had a point too. It's like if she was sitting there reading the card and paying very close attention to it, everyone else would notice, why is she reading her loyalty card so closely? So, a lot of great McCarthyism in an Arthurian setting.
yeah,
Paranoia for all. Okay, well, that was Shadows over Camelot. The next game we're going to feature today is a video game with a medieval theme. It was released a couple of years ago for PlayStation 2 and other next-generation consoles. It's called Rampart.
Okay, so it's a game from 1990, but it's included in the Midway Arcade Treasures collection, which is how we played it. So Rampart features two gameplay mechanics which are familiar to video game players generally. The first is collecting territory, and the second part is blowing stuff up. So there are two distinct phases to the game. The first stage of the game, you are given blocks which you are placing as walls, and you are trying to surround a territory on the screen. And then once you have successfully surrounded your territory, you create a castle there. The trick is that there's a time limit, so you have to place fast, because if you don't complete your castle wall before you run out of time, you lose. Just game over, that's it, you're done. But assuming that you successfully complete your castle, you surround some territory with your pieces of wall. Then you get to place cannons inside your castle, and then you get to go on to the second stage of the game.
Which is the blowing stuff up.
Which is the blowing stuff up.
Very important.
So, where am I going with this?
Well, we can just go to a clip now.
We can just go to a clip now.
How about we do that?
We'll do that.
No.
Oh, so you can gang up on people because you can see where people are aiming at. Are you hitting my cannons?
I don't think I was damaging the cannons.
I couldn't shoot very much.
I was aiming for the walls.
You could destroy cannons, but it takes like 8 shots to do it, so it's really not worth it, especially at the very beginning when you only have 3 cannons.
I have no cannon.
All the action goes over there. Uh-oh.
I don't even have a crosshair in this one. Brilliant. Because you get to have it right. Don't attack me, I'm not a threat. I'm a little puppy dog.
Yeah, this against the coast, that's really bad. I need 2 singles in there.
Oh, don't run out of time. I said don't run out of time.
God, he gave me a single as my last one.
Oh, man!
You put it inside.
I couldn't do... Oh, I could have put it inside.
Put it inside.
Ah.
It's easier for me to see that.
Yeah.
When you're not practically
playing.
building.
Yeah. Now I see how placing cannons is actually a strategic thing. Because you need to be able to do that.
Can you actually attack the cannons?
Yeah, but it takes 8 shots to destroy one.
Oh.
One of his cannons is dead because I killed him.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't have anything like left.
Jmac's in trouble.
I am.
Yeah, basically I hit like little pivots where things met, where walls meet, so that he had... It became one open area. Notice that I hit the little T in the middle,
Yeah.
so that it became one connected area, and then a couple of corners on the outside.
How did you do that? That's amazing.
You had a little T-shaped wall in the middle. I took out the middle piece so that all 3 areas were one area. Then I put one hole in the outer wall, and the whole thing's...
That was quite a rally, Karl. It was quite the rally. Is there like a final score? Oh, you actually got your head chopped off. I didn't get my head chopped off.
I did. Well, you pushed the joystick down to chop his head off. But
oh.
I wasn't looking at the screen for the first one, so I missed the.
So you scared my life. Well, thanks.
Accidentally.
All right. So, what I found really impressive and surprising about this game. So I chose Rampart, so I was looking for games to fill out the medieval theme because we started the show. It's like, okay, I definitely want to do Shadows over Camelot. And So I'd like to pick a digital game with some kind of medieval theme. Well, okay, we had so I had picked up the Midway Arcade Treasures DVD a while ago. I got it from CD Spins for $12. You can find it in any used or bargain bin anywhere. And so I thought, I had not played this before. It's like Matt said, it's an arcade game from 15 years ago. I remember it was in the game room of my when I was a freshman in college. So I didn't play it much then, so I thought we'd do it as sort of a gag, a joke. It turns out it's actually a really fun game. It's just because of the way that video games worked at the time, and I guess they still do, I thought it was just going to be a silly quarter sucker, in that it's just something that you sit there and you play and you continue until you get sick of it and walk away, or until you go broke in the original version that you actually had to pump money into. So shockingly, it's an actual game with a beginning and an end. So the multiplayer version of it, at least, is it supports up to 3 players. If you have a PS2, of course, you need a multi-tap to do that. But as you saw in the clip, you and I and our friend Karl were playing it. And so at the beginning of the game, you basically have 3 chances, or rather you have 3 chances to screw up and let your castle be destroyed. But the game, keeps score, and whoever, so the whole time you go back and forth between the 2 stages. You do the build-up, and then you shoot it at each other, which is a lot of fun. And every time you fail to build your castle back up after getting shot up, you lose a life. And if you lose 3 times, you're out. You're eliminated. And the last person to get eliminated wins the whole game. And the game ends, which is kind of shocking for an arcade game, that there is a winner. I was not expecting that, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, we played it like 3 times. I was expecting something more like Gauntlet, where you just play until you're sick of it. Which is what the rest of the Arcade Treasures disc is filled with.
Right.
Games like that. So that's kind of the surprise winner of this show, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, the 2 or 3 player mode definitely has that. You've got the 2 sides of the castles, and you're blowing each other up, and then you're both trying to rebuild your castle, and then so that you can take more shots at your opponent. It's the 1-player game with with you in the castle, and the computer is basically a bunch of ships, which is firing their cannons at you, and you're trying to sink them before they get to the land, and then they start sending forces at you. Ends up feeling a bit like it's sort of a practice for the multiplayer game.
It's kind of a training. It's really hard, though.
Yeah, it's both surprisingly hard, but also when you spend some time with it, there's more merit to it as a single-player game, I think, than I had originally expected, I guess I should say. That certain games with a heavy multiplayer feel to them, there's a 1-player mode, and the 1-player mode is just there so that you can practice and get good enough so that you can start playing against other players in the multiplayer mode.
The whole Doom 3 mechanic, if you will.
Right. And it feels like Rampart has more there to the 1-player mode. That's clearly one of its functions is to train you for multiplayer, but also it seems worth playing just to play by itself.
It shocked me just how cruel it was, though, because if you get killed in multiplayer mode, those stages are long. You have to survive a bunch of waves of ships. And if you die, you go all the way back to the beginning of that wave, which is really against the psychology of modern arcade games. I mean, I'm paying a quarter, therefore why are you punishing me? You should start me off right where I died. That it was actually that cruel, that it did sort of this, I had the reason I don't play a musical instrument these days is because my trombone teacher in 4th grade was, every time I screwed up, he made me go back to the beginning, and that was so traumatic that I don't know where I'm going with this. However, that's what this gameplay style reminded me of, and as an adult, I can appreciate this. If I was a little kid playing the game, I guess that's what I'm saying. If I was a little kid playing this arcade game, I would get so mad at it. I would be throwing my controller. As an adult, I'm like, this is surprisingly mean, but in a really cool way. So, that's my take. The last thing I want to talk about real briefly is Peasant Quest, which is a pitch-perfect parody or homage of Sierra adventure games like King's Quest or Police Quest from the early 1980s, which you can find on homestarrunner.com, which some of you may know as the home of Strong, Bad, and Friends on the interweb. It is in fact tied into, if you're familiar with the cartoons you find on that site, it is tied into that whole world because the villain from Peasant Quest is...
Go on, say it.
It's Trogdor the Burninator. Yes, okay, well anyway. So, as I was saying, this is a wonderful, when I say wonderful, I mean really scary and obsessive parody of old Sierra adventure games. Everything from the style of the animation to the way that the text is rendered on the screen to even the way that the save and load screens look. All the saving and loading is done through web browser cookies, by the way. Looks exactly ripped from, you know, what a $50 game was 20 or 25 years ago. Except that the entire thing is done using Flash. You don't know it when you're playing it though because the interface is exactly perfect. You move your guy around with the arrow keys. In order to interact with the environment, you have to sit there typing. The dimensions of the screen are absolutely perfect. The color palette is just like, you know, a TRS-80. It is, even though the entire attitude of the game is snarky and sarcastic and very self-referential and silly, it is clearly programmed by some people who have a deep love for these old adventure games and probably played them even more than I did as a kid. What's even better is that the entire game is legitimately a full adventure game beyond being, you know, it's also a silly joke, but it's a full legitimate adventure game. I played through the whole thing in about 2 or 3 hours. If you know anything about, if you played King's Quest and its ilk as a kid, you'd probably appreciate this. Well, that's our show. You can check out our website, which is printed there on your screen right there. If you want to watch the show again, we'll have it online. You can send the URL to your friends if for some reason they don't live in Somerville and can't, they don't have access to Somerville Community Access Television. You can watch it. Perhaps you yourself are somewhere else in the world watching this show. We have no idea of knowing. But you can send us feedback and perhaps tell us what you think and where you're watching from, if you like the show or you think it sucks. We'll also have links to all of the games that we talked about today, so you can follow up on that yourself. And we'll have information about upcoming shows, assuming that we actually make some. That'd be nice. So, assuming that's the way the future will work out, we'll see you next time. So, bye.
See you then.
See, on the voices, I wonder how they record those. Just on ROM chips or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the voices.